Hello, campers, and welcome to week 3. Before we get started, I just wanted to have a quick chat because all of the teachers had a meeting last week and we were talking about ways that we could keep everyone a little more engaged and interested in the lessons. Because I do realize it's not the most exciting thing to be watching videos during your summer, um, and it's hard for the teachers to find something that can keep you engaged the whole time. Because when we're in the classroom and we see people are getting bored, they don't like what we're doing, they're not interested, I can easily change what I'm doing and try a different activity. But when we're online and I'm just recording these videos, I have no way of seeing how you're reacting, if you find it hard, if it's easy. And I was able to gauge that a little bit better last week when you gave me the ratings for how hard you thought the assignment was. So thank you for that. That definitely helped. It helped me to adjust what we're doing, and most of you thought it was fairly easy, which is a very good thing. That means we're in a good place. But I just wanted to remind you, we're seeing people aren't watching the whole video. So I know you can easily get distracted. It happens to me all the time. Um, 20 minutes can seem like a long time when you're watching a video and it's not your favorite YouTuber, it's a teacher. I know it's not very exciting, but you will be glad that you did it when you go back to school because your brain's going to be working all summer and you will just have a much better review, because we know during online learning you weren't learning the best that you could because it was hard for teachers and students to adjust and do something different. So all that I'm asking is that you give your best effort. And we're going to follow along and do this together. So it shouldn't be too hard. Should be easy for you to follow along. And if nothing else, while you're working through this, just keep my video playing. So if you have a question that comes up, you can rewind, fast forward, and see when I got to that part that you're on. What did I say? Was there something that's helpful that could help you to understand the topic a little bit more? So like I said, all I want is your best effort. And as long as you're doing that and you're answering the poll questions at the end, that's all we can ask for, is that you're trying your best. And the poll question, you have to be paying attention the whole time to be able to answer that. So I would prefer that people aren't skipping to the end just to answer that question, because that defeats the purpose of the teachers making these videos for everyone to watch. We would just be posting questions if that's what we wanted you to do. So I want you to follow along today the best that you can. And first, we're going to do a review from last week. So if you still have your papers, you can go back and look at those. But last week, we were reading the story about bees. And a question I want you to answer for me out loud right now is, if you come across a word in a story that you don't know, what are you going to do to figure out that answer? Pretending the teacher's not there, what can you do? Tell me that answer out loud. So something that you could have said is you use context clues, you reread those sentences, which is what I like to do. I'll read the couple of sentences that are around that word. It can usually help you figure it out. If you can't figure it out completely, it'll help you at least enough to understand the story. So that's something I want you to think about today. And what we're going to do today is talk about main idea and how we can summarize a story. So you should have this paper. It has a little whale up in the corner. It says main idea and summarizing on it. It should be in your resource bag. And you should have that story. And then there's one other page after that that you should have. So at the top, a parent or tutor should read along with the student. That'll be me. I'll be reading along with you. We're going to look at these definitions first, so you can read with me. The main idea of a paragraph is what the whole paragraph is mostly about. So main idea, that's like the big idea that you're taking away from the story. If you didn't have all those details, narrow down what the story would be about. If you're just telling someone in one sentence, what's the story about? And then it says, the details are small pieces of information that make the paragraph more interesting. We all know what details are. We use a lot of details even when we're telling stories to our friends. For example, yesterday I went kayaking with one of my friends. That would be the main idea, that we go kayaking. The details are how we got there, what we did while we were in the kayak, what we did after, how we got home. We also went out to eat. I could add that as a detail. So all the little things that make the story more interesting. Then it says, a summary includes the main idea of each of the paragraphs in a story. It does not include the details of the paragraphs. So when you're summarizing, you're looking for the main idea in each of these paragraphs, and then you put all of those together to make, in this case, it would be a 4-sentence summary because we have 4 paragraphs. So just collecting all those main ideas and putting them together is basically all you're doing. Now, we're going to read this story together. I'll share it with you on here. And okay, here's our story. We're going to read this together. I just want you to follow along with me. And while we're reading, I want you to look for the main idea. So we'll stop after each paragraph and try to figure it out together. All right. Whales are the biggest creatures that have ever lived on the earth. They are even bigger than the biggest dinosaurs were. Scientists think that whales once walked on land. They believe this because whales are not fish, they are mammals. So what do you think is a main idea? You can even put it in your own words. For example, I would say something about, I could say whales are the biggest creatures and we are not sure of their history, because scientists say they think they walked on land, but they're not sure. So the history is pretty much unknown. Just some guesses that we have about it. Okay, next paragraph. Not only are whales the biggest creatures on Earth, they also are some of the smartest. They live in family groups. They communicate with each other and hunt for food in groups. Mother whales keep their babies close by and give them gentle taps to guide them in the right direction. Sometimes a whale will lift its head out of the water just to take a look around. So what would you say the main idea of that paragraph is? You can tell me out loud. I would say the main idea from that is that whales are some of the smartest creatures on Earth, because we're learning about things that they do to keep their babies safe and ways that they communicate. So they're very intelligent. Because whales are mammals, they must breathe air. They breathe through a blowhole on their back. However, they can hold their breath for a very long time. Some kinds of whales can hold their breath for 2 hours at a time. Whales never really sleep. Instead, they swim along with their blowhole above the water. What's our main idea there that you could get from the paragraph? I would say something about whales having a blowhole, whales breathe through the blowhole on their back, anything like that. Just talking about how they're a little bit different from your average animal. And then you see up in the picture at the top that the water is coming out of the blowhole too. Many kinds of whales migrate to warmer waters during the winter months. During the summer, they build up a layer of fat so that during migration they do not have to eat. That's pretty interesting that they're traveling that whole time, they don't have to eat just because of that layer that they built on their skin. Bears also eat during the summer to build up a layer of fat so that they can sleep during the winter. There's a similarity between whales and bears. Some scientists think the prehistoric whales may have looked like gigantic bears. Did not know that. It's a new fact for me. Okay, so I would say main idea in that last paragraph is anything along the lines of whales and bears being related or their history is similar. How they're built is kind of similar or the same. So we're gonna go to the questions. We're gonna do 1 through 5 together, and then 6 we will save. So number 1, what is the main idea of the first paragraph? A, whales are bigger than the dinosaurs were. B, whales are the biggest creatures on Earth. Or C, whales are mammals. So what, you can go back and look in your story too, that's what I'm gonna do. What would our main idea be there? And go ahead and circle your answer. I'm gonna give you a hint. It's at the beginning of the paragraph. So our main idea was that whales are the biggest creatures on Earth. Number 2, what is the main idea of the second paragraph? So I'm going to go back and look at my second paragraph. We have A, whales are some of the smartest creatures on Earth. B, whales live in family groups. Or C, mother whales keep their babies close by. So go back and look in your paragraph. We talked about this one too when we went through. That whole paragraph talks about how whales are. Okay, our answer would be A, that whales are some of the smartest creatures on Earth. And in paragraph 2, we learned about different things they do, details that show that whales are some of the smartest creatures on Earth. Number 3, what is the main idea of the third paragraph? A, some kinds of whales can hold their breath for a very long time. B, whales must breathe air. Or C, whales breathe through a blowhole. So let's go back and look at our third paragraph for a refresher. Another hint or a way that you can figure this out is by looking at the first sentence of the paragraph, because that's like your introduction to what you're going to be reading about. And here it says, because whales are mammals, they must breathe air. So we can go back and see if any of those answers are similar. So we can eliminate A on number 3 because some kinds of whales can hold their breath for a very long time. We didn't read that. B, whales must breathe air. And C, whales breathe through a blowhole. So are we learning about the way whales breathe, or is the main idea that they breathe air and then we learn about how? So pick your answer. The answer for number 3 is B. The reason for that is because them breathing through a blowhole is just a detail. We're learning about how they breathe air. Number 4, what is the main idea of the fourth paragraph? So our last paragraph, go back and look. You can look on the screen, find our main idea. We're learning about something that whales do during the winter. So C would be our main idea for that. We did learn about bears, but that was more of a detail, just something for us to compare whales to. And then B, whales do not eat while they are migrating. That was a detail as well. So the main thing we're learning about is how they migrate. So you can go ahead and look at those. If you had any questions, go ahead back. You can rewind my video if you want to see something explained again. We're going to move on to number 5. So here, you've probably done something like this before where you're writing the events in order of what they happen in the story. So number 5 says, write the number 1 through 4 in the boxes beside the events to show the sequence of what happened from first to last. So this is where you want to look at your story and see what we talked about first in the story. And I want you to try this on your own. Go ahead and write the numbers in the boxes. So what happened first? What did we learn first in that story? It wasn't so much events, but we were learning facts about whales. Our first paragraph. So what I put for number 1 is that whales are the biggest creatures on Earth. We learned that first. Next, we learned that whales are some of the smartest creatures on Earth. So we put a number 2 next to that. And then paragraph 3 tells us that whales must breathe air. So we put a number 3 there. And then our last one that's left, many whales migrate for the winter. That would be number 4. So here's my numbers that I have. You can see those. And you may have noticed too that all of those events there that they wanted us to sequence were the main ideas. So going back and looking at your multiple choice, looking at the paragraphs for the main ideas can help you to answer that question. So I want everyone to go back, make sure you have all your answers down for that. And last thing we're going to do is take a look at number 6. What would be a good title for this whole story? So we're going to talk about how you can figure that out, because they didn't really give us a title for this. So that's what I want you to come up with on your own. What would be a good title? So right now I want you to tell me out loud, how can you go about figuring out what a title could be for a story? What kind of information can you use for that? So what I would use when I'm doing this question is I would go back and look at my main ideas for each paragraph. So here you can use the questions that you answered and the sequences. And I want you to come up with a title for this story. It can be as creative as you want, or it can be just based on the facts. Anything that kind of summarizes the main ideas that we get in this story. So that's what I want you to do for your poll question. You're going to be answering number 6, making up a title for the story, in the comments below. And then last thing I want to leave you with here before we sign off for today. If you have any questions for me or any of the teachers, or if you just have any comments, something you want to say to communicate with us, you can put that in the comments as well. It doesn't just need to be your poll answer. If there's anything that you need to communicate with us, because I know we do have an app for the Lemoyne Center, but we've been having some difficulties with using it and getting everyone logged in. So I haven't been able to send messages on there. But if you have a question about what we did on today's assignment, anything we've done in the past, I want you to put that with your answer. Because I'm here to help. It's just harder for me to know what you need help with when we don't have much communication. And I want everyone to enjoy this as much as they can and not be struggling. It shouldn't be stressing you out. So if you do have any questions for me, feel free to put them in the comments, but definitely make sure you answer number 6 down there with your name. Come up with a title for the story using your main ideas. So I'm looking forward to seeing your titles that you created, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, enjoy your lessons, and I will see you next week. Bye.